Let's go to KBBU. No Ball Better University class is now in session for the students that want to learn. Come up to the front of the classroom. I am your professor,
I'll be in the back.
Jesse Holley. Now, we always talk about, and I want to give credit to Brian Schottenheimer, because when you're an offensive play caller, you're a play developer. We have this thing where we talk about, how do I unlock a guy? How do I set plays up, set routes up? And it happens throughout the course of the game. Now, I can tell you, as someone who's been in the locker room and as someone who has gotten a playbook every single week, one of the things that we do offensively is they highlight who are the defensive players that we need to worry about. Well, the same thing happens defensively. They get a playbook and they go, who should we highlight offensively? And I can tell you each and every week, George Pickens is probably in that conversation along with 88, along with number 4. But what do they say about George Pickens? They're probably saying, listen, guys, when number 3's out there, he's probably going to run a go route, right? Hey, when number 3's out there, he's probably going to run a slant route. And so if you know, and this is the genius of a play caller, play designer, if you know that you have a receiver, not like CeeDee Lamb, because CeeDee Lamb, he has the ability to do any and everything on the football field. I try to tell people, George Pickens may be a little bit limited in what they want him to do.
A little bit.
So when you're talking about him either running a slant or a go route, maybe a deep over, some things that aren't quite in his wheelhouse, you got to set this guy up. And how do you do this? You put on film and you put out there through the course of the game, here's what he's going to run. And then you put a spin to it. You put them all together, and this is how you get the touchdown that George Pickens had. Let's go to the film. George Pickens at the bottom in this route. So now, one of the things that you're going to see George Pickens run, line number 1 when it comes to George Pickens is, hey guys, he's a go route runner. He's a deep ball route runner. So that's line 1 when you think about playing George Pickens. 6'3", he's tall, he's rangy, he has speed on him, he has exceptional hands. So now you're always thinking about that in the back of your mind. Look at this route right here. When he comes to the line of scrimmage, what does he do? The first jab is going to be inside, right? I want to move that defender inside so that I can go outside, see those hips open up. I want to have that, we call it the gate. The gate is opening up, and now I have a straight path through to this go route. I want to lean back on the defender, and I want to save some room on the sideline so that the quarterback can throw this ball up and over into the bucket for a touchdown. This play right here didn't result in a touchdown. The ball could have been thrown a little bit better by Dak Prescott to get it out there. But
this play right here,
in the back of the DB's mind, this play is now a viable option for George Pickens, the go route, the go route, the go route. So every time he lines up against George Pickens, he's thinking this is probably going to be a go route. Percentages says this is what he runs. So we run it, and now that's what happens. All right, what's the next play that George Pickens runs, and he runs well? There's George Pickens at the top of your screen. Now, we've already known and seen the go route. That's in the DB's mind. We're in the red zone right here. Well, guess what? He's thinking in his head, probably going to be a go route again. In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Now they run the slant route with George Pickens. He comes off the ball. He attacks his DB. Now there's an outside plant, right? I want outside plant. That DB has opened his hips to the outside. Guess what? When you do that, we call you toast, my friend.
You know the hips don't lie.
The hips do not lie, and I will dance for them bands. So George Pickens runs a slant route. He gets on the inside of the DB. Dak Prescott delivers a strike to George Pickens right here in the red zone for a big play. So now, this DB has seen and has heard all week long. His coaches said, George Pickens, he runs go routes. He runs go routes. George Pickens, he runs slants. He runs slants. And so now you get in the red zone, and his DB is thinking this. He said, all right, assignment alignment football. When you line up outside of the numbers, see what George Pickens at? He's down at the bottom of the numbers. This DB is thinking to himself, all right, we're on the 10-yard line. It's probably going to be a go route or slant. Probably going to be a go route or a slant. That's all coach has been preaching. That's all I've been seeing all game long. I've been seeing go routes and slants, go routes and slants, go routes and slants. And now Schottenheimer goes, I've been giving George Pickens nothing. Go routes and slants, go routes and slants. They're thinking it. The DB's thinking about it. He's heard it all week. The coach has been preaching it. So now you get down here in the red zone and you say, let's put it all together and confused the hell out of this DB and put him in a blender for a touchdown. When you watch this route right here, when you come off, what does George Pickens do first? He comes off the ball and he takes an inside jab. Well, that feels like what? A slant. So now what does he do? He's leaning towards the inside for the slant. You see that safety over the top? What is he doing? He's coming down to try to negate that slant from happening. Cool, no problem. I don't want to run a slant. I put my foot in the ground. Now I'm running to the,
oh my God.
I'm running to the corner of the end zone. It's going to be a fade. He opens his hips up to meet George Pickens at the pylon. And then Brian Schottenheimer goes, I'm going to give you the slant. I'm going to give you the fade look, but actually it's just going to be an out route. And now the timing of this all, the way that the ball is released before he gets out of his break, George Pickens already a big body. He gets in between he and the defender, and he catches this out route right at the front pylon. And this is where this ball is supposed to go. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to go right to the front pylon. It is worked and delivered perfectly by Dak Prescott. The timing is there. The route setup has been there. George Pickens runs it with great tempo. He runs it with head and shoulders. He gets the right break on it, and he scores a touchdown for his first touchdown of the year right in the front of the end zone because that DB has been thinking to himself the entire time, slant, go, slant. And then they run an out route with George Pickens in the end zone for a touchdown. What a great setup by Brian Schottenheimer, the play caller, the play designer, setting these plays up all game long, having that DB having to think these things. And that's what you get when you add all of these together. You add play design, you add playmaker, you add timing, you add setup. And this is what you get. They're slowly but surely unlocking the abilities of George Pickens. And so when you have that thought process, it's like anything else. When Tyreek Hill comes out and breaks the huddle, the first thing you think about is speed. Speed. So I can play off that. And you saw the great design that he had when he was in Kansas City, how they played off that. The same thing applies with George Pickens. When you break the huddle, the first thing the DB says, man, he's outside the numbers. This is probably going to be a slant or a go ball. And sometimes it works. But when you set it up throughout the game, you get in these critical moments where you need to have a big play. You need to have a touchdown. And now you've known how we set this thing up all game long. So I get an out route to a guy who's wide open at the front of the pylon for a touchdown. That is KBBU, No Ball Better University. Shout out to Brian Schottenheimer, Dak Prescott, George Pickens for playing that perfectly for a touchdown.